out of here. Like, this is not drug treatment. They're trying to brainwash me. You need to get me out of here, like, as soon as possible. Get me the next flight home. Everybody, what's up? It's my first video. Tales of a Predicate Felon. I'm going to be going over different life stories, things that I've been through that I think people will find entertaining, inspiring, whatever the case may be. So I figured I got a lot of crazy stuff I've been through. I might as well share it with the world. Thinking about, once I get these videos together, enough of them, I'm thinking about even putting a book together to publish. We'll see what happens. But anyway, this first story I'm going to tell is, it's 2005, and I think I was like 22 years old at the time. I'm crack addicted. I've been on the streets for like a year at this point, living out of hotel rooms, trap houses. I was selling drugs and smoking at the beginning, and my habit just got worse and worse to the point where I was just smoking too much of my supply to where I wasn't making money anymore. Anyway, long story short, that all just came to a head real quick. Within like a year of living that life, I hit rock bottom. I didn't have no money. I didn't know where I was going to get my next meal. I was not selling anymore. I was only buying, and weighed 135 pounds. So me right now, I'm 215. So 6 foot tall. Imagine how I was skin and bones. It was bad. Anyway, one day I was at a rock bottom. I was staying in another crackhead's hotel room, and for some reason I called my mom. And I called my mom and I said, "Hey mom, I need help. Can you come get me?" And she just, without hesitating, she asked where I was, and she came and got me. She saw the shape I was in. She freaked out. I mean, she was hysterical, and she had every right to be. I was in rough shape. And so she brought me back to the house. I went into the room, closed the door, and she was frantic. She's looking for rehabs to send me to. All these different rehabs. And finally, she ends up settling. I don't remember much because, I mean, like I said, I was smoking crack all day, every day for a year, and now I'm coming out of it in a fog. I'm just in the room with the lights off, and she's out there trying to find a rehab to send me to. Finally, I don't remember how we end up settling on this place called Narconon Stonehawk in Battle Creek, Michigan. And I don't remember it coming up at the time, but Narconon Stonehawk is a Scientology ran rehab. It's a 4-month program. And it was in Battle Creek, Michigan. I lived in Florida at the time. It's where I live now. And so it was quite a trip for me to go to this rehab. I really don't remember why we ended up settling on this one, but we did. Next thing I knew, I was on a plane to Battle Creek, Michigan. I got picked up by the recruiter there at the airport, and they drove me straight to the detox house. Like, they got a little separate detox house, I guess, that they rent. And when you're brand new to the program, you go there first for like 10 days before you go to the main facility. So they bring me to the detox center. By the time I get there, I'm exhausted. Like, I had a long flight. You know, I flew all the way from Florida. And finally get to the house, and I'm ready. They point me back to my room to go put my bags down and stuff. And I go back to the room. As I'm walking down the hallway, I look over to the left, just glancing. And there's like this living room area to the left. Like a day room type living room area. And there's 2 people sitting in there, just sitting across from each other in chairs with their hands on their knees. Just like this, just staring at each other. They're about a foot apart. Their knees had about a foot of space between them. No table or anything, just space in between them. 2 chairs, and they're just staring at each other. Like I said, I was just walking down the hallway, so I just, passing glance, I saw these people doing this, and I thought to myself, they must be just messing around having a staring contest or something. That was mine, and I didn't think nothing of it. I went back into my bed, and I fell asleep. I was out for like 3 or 4 days. I mean, I woke up to eat here and there, like nibble on something, go back to bed, wake up to pee, go back, you know what I mean? For 3 or 4 days, I was out. Alright, so after 3 or 4 days, I finally come out of the room, and I'm starting to like kind of socialize a little bit, talk to people and stuff, get to know people's names. And so I'm there at the detox house for another, I think, 3 or 4 days at that point after I slept. And where I just like played board games and stuff to pass the time, told stories, whatever. And come to find out that the 2 people I saw staring at each other when I first got there, they weren't just having a staring contest. Apparently they were practicing for what they were going to have to do, what we were going to have to do when we got over to the main facility. I guess we were going to have to go through these things called training routines, which they call TRs, and there's like 12 of them. And apparently that's like the first one. It has to do with like staring at someone else. I was like, all right, at that point, I found it kind of weird, but I didn't know much else. So anyway, finally we get done with the detox house, and it's time to go over to the main facility. We get to the main facility, pull up to it. It wasn't at all what I was expecting. Like, I hadn't seen any pictures of it. I wasn't looking at it with my mom when she found the place back in Florida. I was just in my room sleeping, trying to sleep. Anyway, we get there. There's this huge place. It looks like a gigantic ski lodge. It's like old, rustic, log cabin looking place. It's all wood on the outside. And you go in the front doors, and it's like this huge lobby area, like a bear skin hanging out behind the desk and stuff. Very, very mountainous cabin feel. And I'm pretty sure it used to be some kind of resort or something before they bought it, but don't quote me on that. But it looked like it, it seemed like it. So I get to my room, and I got a room with there's three sets of bunk beds, so 6 people in a bathroom. Once you get all settled in, get your stuff in, they start kind of explaining what you're going to have to do at the program there. The TR exercises that I explained to you before, there's 12 of them that you got to work through. And they assign you a twin when you first get to the main facility. Your twin is someone who got to the main facility right around the same time as you. And you're going to work through all the exercises with your twin throughout the duration of the 4-month program. The first TR, remember I told you about people staring at each other? Well, that's what you got to do. You got to sit in chairs across from each other, you and your twin. And you just sit in chairs with your hands on your knees, sitting up straight, nice posture, and just stare at each other. Don't talk, don't say anything, just stare right at the other person. You're dead in their pupils. If you start out, you do it for like 10, 15 minutes, whatever. You work your way out. You got to do it all the way up to 2 hours. You got to be able to do it for 2 hours. Can't itch, you can't smile, you can't nothing. You just gotta for 2 hours before you can even move on to the next exercise. So you imagine sometimes it takes like a week for someone to discipline themselves to get up to be able to do that. Sometimes you'll be at 1 hour and 58 minutes, you know, when you get a crazy itch or something will make you laugh in the room because there's other people in the room. There's stuff going on while you're doing it. It's crazy, man. I'm thinking I'm going to drug treatment, man. Like, I received 0 drug treatment at this point. Like, nobody's giving me any, like, therapy. I'm not, like, dealing with my issues or nothing. I'm just doing these weird training routines. So you do the first 3. Once you get to the third one's super weird. So the third one, you're sitting in chairs across from each other, just like in the first TR. But in this one, one of the twins that you're sitting with asks the other person questions. It's so bizarre, right? So you sit there and you say, do birds fly? And the other person goes, yes. And then I'd say, thank you. Do birds fly? Yes. Thank you. Etc., etc. But they don't always say yes. Sometimes they'll say like another thing, and then they'll say, and then if they're not answering the question or acting like they're distracted, you say, I repeat the question. Do birds fly? And you do this over and over and over again. And it's always, do birds fly? And the other twin is like kind of like supposed to kind of mess with you sometimes and act like they have a stomach ache or something. And you're supposed to be assertive, the other person, and like get back to the point at hand and like get them to answer the question, no matter if there's something else going on. It's very bizarre. And then you're supposed to come up with this realization about the exercise. And once you come up with the right realization, according to the counselor that oversees the room of everyone that's doing these training routines in the rooms, you bring up your realization to them, and they have to check it off as you're ready to go on to the next one or not. So it's crazy, dude, because you gotta think, people that are in the program ahead of you have already done these training routines. So people are passing on information. Oh, this is what I said to get through it. This is what I said was my realization, and they passed me. So sometimes people will do that, and they'll use answers that other people used in the past, and still the counselors won't pass them. It's like they're just messing with you, and they just want to just put you through whenever they want to put you through to the next one. It's very, very bizarre. And around this time, when we started doing these, is when I started getting like a real uneasy feeling about the place, like something was not right. So after you complete the first few TRs, and the next thing you gotta do is a sauna treatment. When you go to the sauna treatment, you exercise. You wake up in the morning and you exercise first thing for like 15, 30 minutes before you go to the sauna. And then you take like a handful of salt pills and niacin, bunch of niacin too, like a handful of it. And you go sit in the sauna for up to 6 hours a day. You're just sitting in the sauna, 6 hours straight sauna. I mean, you get out for, I think, one break you can get out. So you're just sitting in there baking in this heat, dude, with niacin, so you're flush and your skin's all wide open and red, and it's supposed to secrete all the drugs out of your system and all this stuff, but it is not safe at all. Let me tell you, there's old people that were in there with me. A couple of them fell out when they were in the sauna, and there's no medical staff there. The guy that oversees the sauna program is like this old Indian, like Native American, like stoner guy. And he was like, oh man, it's cool, bro. You'll be all right. Just push through it, man. Talk just like that. Swear to God. Just think about it. Going in that sauna 6 hours a day. People are overheating. I heard some horror stories of people that actually died there in the past, but I don't know. After you do the sauna, you get done doing the sauna, you got to go back and start doing your TRs again. So you got TR like 5 through 12. You have to forgive me, I don't remember most of these, but I remember bits and pieces. And I'll get into the other TRs here in a minute. But first, I just want to touch on some other things. So sorry, this is an edit. I wanted to do this about video and I forgot. So this is one of the other TRs. I forget to mention in the video. I can't remember most of them, but like, so you and your twin are standing in this big room with a bunch of other people, and there's like desks and chairs and stuff around the room. It's like a classroom looking place. And you're standing there with your twin, and you got this whole room, and you say, see, you're my twin, we're standing up, and I'll say, look at that wall. Thank you, after you look at it. And then I'll say, walk over to that wall. So then we walk over to the wall together, and I keep looking at you the whole time. We get there and we stop. And then I say, touch that wall. And I keep staring at you till you do it. And then once you touch it, I say, thank you. And I say, look at that chair. Thank you. Walk over to that chair. Thank you. Touch that chair. Thank you. Over and over again, all day. All day. All day you do this till you come up with a realization. But it was around this time, about the end of the sauna treatment, I was really like, okay, there's something weird about this place. I'm getting no drug treatment here. And it just seems like they're trying to brainwash me or something. And some of the people that I came in with, that I was at the detox house with, I started noticing the lights go out of their eye. Like the person that they were, they got this like blank stare. And they were like all into, like they bought into the whole thing. They're like, I'm going to work here when I get out. I love this place. But dude, it was so noticeable. Like me and this guy, Rob, this older guy that came in at the same time, he's like, dude, you could tell like they got Joe. They got Joe too. It was like the faculty or something, man. I swear to you, you could just see the change in these people that came in with. And it was not like they were a healthy, sober change. Like it was a weird, discomforting feeling that these people, the way that they got these people, and they were just all in just like that. And from then on, I was a problem for them because I was not buying into it. I was non-conforming at all. I called home around this time and I told my parents, I was like, you got to get me out of here. Like, this is not drug treatment. They're trying to brainwash me. You need to get me out of here, like, as soon as possible. Get me the next flight home. They're like, oh, you're just homesick. You're just homesick. There was literally people getting pulled out by their families. There's like 3 or 4 people that got pulled out by their families around this time. That's what triggered me to call home and be like, you got to get me out of this place. My parents didn't believe me. They were just like, oh, you're just homesick. Just stick it out. You're almost halfway done. Just stick it out. I couldn't convince them, But, dude, there was something weird going on, and I was not wrong about it. Around this time, right after the sauna, between like TR 5 and 6, somewhere in there, I was in the chow hall one day. And dude, the chow hall was this big cafeteria, and they had this gigantic picture of L. Ron Hubbard. It was like 20 feet by 30 feet or something. It was huge with like this gold frame, and he's sitting there like this in the picture. They worshiped the dude. It was like it was very, very weird. Anyway, around this time, I was in the chow hall. I got started just sweating. Like I did not feel well. I went to the nurse, and because I got a bad fever out of nowhere. And so I told her I'm sick. The nurse looked at me and says, "You're not sick." What are you talking about? I'm not sick. I was like, "I'm sick. Something wrong with me." That's when they break it to me that they don't believe in being sick. They don't believe in germs. So this nurse continued to tell me that I'm being suppressed by someone, or something in my life is suppressing me, and that's why I feel sick. So she gives me this cold pack with like vitamins and minerals and like cayenne pepper in like these little capsules and stuff. No ibuprofen, nothing. So I take it. It didn't do anything to help. I got real sick. Like, I was sick for 3 or 4 days. I had to miss class. And they didn't do nothing for me, dude. No antibiotics, no ibuprofen for the fever, just those same vitamin packs. Because they don't believe in germs, apparently, in Scientology. They just believe that there's something suppressing you in your life if you get sick. So I went back a couple of days later to the nurse, and I tried to tell them again. I was like, "I'm really sick. I need some attention. I need some antibiotics or something." They told me again. They're like, "You're not sick. You're not sick. You're being suppressed by somebody." I grabbed a paper towel off the dispenser, and I went, hawked a big yellow loogie, and I said, "I'm sick. Look, I'm sick. I need help." They didn't do anything for me, so I went back to my room, and I just gave up. Fast forward, I'm giving them a hard time. I'm not being a conformist towards the program, and I get further and further closer to where I'm supposed to graduate, and I get sick again. I got real sick again, caught the flu or whatever it was again, and this time I would think I was just under a month out from graduating, and I told myself I didn't even go to the nurse. I didn't even bother. I was so over the place at this point. Like, I didn't even want to be there. I'm stuck in Michigan. I live in Florida. There's no way I can just leave. You know what I mean? I got no money. My parents are not going to help me get home. They want me to finish the program, even though they're trying to brainwash me. So I'm going to pick. I said, I'm not going to that nurse to get a cold pack. It's not going to do anything for me. There's no ibuprofen. Like I said, there's just nothing that's going to help me in it. So I just laid in bed. I didn't go to group. I didn't go to the nurse. I just laid there. And finally the ethics officer, because me and him had a real good relationship by this point. I'm being sarcastic if you can't tell. The ethics officer is in charge of, he's like the dean of the school kind of thing. He's in charge of disciplining people and stuff. He came to my room. He's like, "Gally, blah, blah, blah. Get up, get to class." And I told him, I'm not going, bro. I'm sick. And he's like, we went back and forth. And we were heated, going back and forth. Finally, he just told me to pack my shit. He's like, "Pack your shit, dude. You're going home. You're getting out of here." So I packed my shit. I went to his office, and then all of a sudden, his demeanor completely changed. Like, he was red in the face, mad. Now he just looked like calm, quiet. I went into the office, and he said that he talked to the higher ups, and that they see a lot of potential in me. And they don't want to waste it. They want to see me finish the program. They think that I can do it, that I have it in me. And they decided they wanted to give me another chance. So what they said they're going to do is they put me in ethics, which is like a punishment type thing, for a week, where you have to sit in a room, can't talk all day, and you're just copying out of a Scientology book, word for word, all day for like 8 hours a day. So they put me in that. They said you could do that for a week, and you get out and do your last couple weeks, and you graduate. You go home with a certificate. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I just want to get this over with at this point. So I go and I start doing the ethics class. I'm doing the ethics class. I get about, I think I'm like on my 6th day of ethics. At this point, a day away from finishing it. And Eric, the ethics officer, calls me back into his office, and I can't believe it. He tells me, at this point, I'm just under 2 weeks, I think, from graduating. And he said that they changed their mind again, and they're going to go ahead and discharge me from the program after further consideration. I'm like, what? Why couldn't he just discharge me 6 days ago instead of put me through all this crap I just went through, sitting in this room quiet for 8 hours, for almost a whole week? Anyway, so I called my mom. Mom says, gets me a plane ticket to come home. She tells the guy my flight information, has me pack my stuff. He says he's going to have a van drive me to catch my flight at the airport. So I pack my stuff, I get in the van, and we're starting to go down the highway. You get about 15 minutes, not even, down the highway, and he starts getting off at an exit. The Detroit airport, I think, is a good 45 minutes to an hour from where I'm at, and it wasn't time to get off on an exit yet. I thought in my head, I was like, that's kind of weird. He's getting off the highway already. I was like, maybe he just needs to get some gas or get some cigarettes or something to eat. Who knows, you know? So I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't say anything. He gets off the exit and he ends up pulling into this like Motel 6. Days in, I don't remember what it was, but it was an old, dilapidated motel, like a Motel 6 type place. He gets out of the car, and I'm still not sure what's going on, what he's doing at this point. I haven't said anything. And then he gets out of the car, starts pulling my stuff out. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? And I get out. He hands me $40 in a room key and says, good luck, takes off. Apparently they had got me a room at this hotel and just gave me $40 and I had no other cash. And they just left me there at the hotel, 45 minutes away from the airport where I'm supposed to go catch my flight. I had to call my mom and tell her what happened. I was like, these people didn't bring me to the airport like they were supposed to. And I told her what they did, and she couldn't believe it. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. So she had to cancel my flight, switch it till the next morning. And then we had to figure out how I was going to get to the airport. So she just wired me money and said, figure it out, whether you got to take a train or a cab or whatever you got to do, figure it out. He'd give you some money for food and transportation to get to the airport. She wires me $400. So now I got $440. I ordered a pizza and I went to the bowling alley and had a shot of rum. I came back from the bowling alley, which was like almost a mile walk. I came back from there to the hotel because they don't sell alcohol in gas stations in Michigan. That's why I had to go to the bowling alley to get a drink. So I went to there, had a shot just to calm my nerves. Walking back, and I'm walking to the parking lot of my hotel room, and I see a drug dealer walking with a streetwalker, and I already know what time it is. Like, so I walk up to him and I ask him what's good. He asked me if I'm a cop. I said, well, I'm not a cop, and I explained to him what's going on. I'm like, dude, yeah, I'm just trying to get right, man. I had a hard day, and anyway, we ended up going back to the room, and then I ended up spending $350 on crack cocaine. Smoked it all that night. So high the whole night. I don't remember. It was bad, like the anxiety from it. I ended up having to pay the guy I was buying it from in the morning at 7 a.m. because I had to catch a flight at 9. I ended up having to pay him the last $100 I had to drive me to the airport. I get to the airport and I'm going into the car garage doing pushes and stuff. And it was the worst anxiety. It was horrible. I don't even know how to explain it. I would go and I'd hit the stem, and I'd go walk around the airport thinking security was after me, and then I went back into the garage, did it again. And then finally ran out. I got rid of that thing. I ended up catching my flight home, and my brother picked me up. I never told my family what happened. Not even 10 years later, 8 or 9 years later, I see that same guy, Eric, the ethics officer that kicked me out. I saw him on Dateline or something like that. I guess he had turned on Scientology, and he was like turning over a new leaf. He was speaking out against Scientology. And then him in that interview, he says that that's one of the techniques that they do in that program, is that they'll take people that are being a problem, they kick them out, and they wait until they're just under 2 weeks from graduating, because in the contract to get at the place, if you're under 2 weeks from graduating and you get kicked out, you're not entitled to any refund. If you have more than 2 weeks left, you get a 50% refund. So that was the method in their madness for letting me stay an extra 6 days and then kicking me out because they wanted to keep the full amount that my parents had paid them for the treatment. So it's a thing they do. They know what your drug of choice is. So when they kick you out, instead of taking you to the airport or whatever, they take you to the most place you're most likely to relapse. They drop you off in that environment. They hope that you do relapse and something bad happens. You call home and your parents freak out, call the center, and they end up putting you back in as a retread for even more money. That's their scam. Blessing in disguise, man, because I never smoked crack after that. After that night, I didn't smoke crack ever again. It was over for me. It was such a bad experience. So it was a blessing in disguise. But Narconon, man, zero treatment help at that place. I swear, they were just trying to brainwash people and get them to buy into the program and eventually, like become lifelong members and pay for the teachings and all that stuff and work for them. If you like that video, I want to be doing more and more. Hopefully I'll get better at telling these stories. But go ahead, hit that subscribe, hit the like button, and share it for me if you want. Tales of a Predicate Felon.